Well, I hope you enjoyed part one, and this is part two with my very special guest, Vida Evenson from Vida Goes Carnivore. Enjoy it. My mom, I was a steak and potato guy. Like, I love meat and potatoes. And all my childhood, my mom was like, eat your vegetables. No. My grandmother would make like sides of carrots and celery or cucumbers and like raw vegetables for me to eat. And my grandmother was like, he'll be fine when he's older. Like, my mom's like, this is not good. Eat your vegetables. And we laugh about it now because my mom's come all the way around and she's done some good
Right.
with her diet. And we laugh because she's like, holy shit, this whole time I was telling you what I thought you needed, and you were
Right.
telling me in your, stubborn childhood ways, this is what I want to eat. And
Yeah.
I know I'm not saying it's tough. I'm parenting. I'm not telling any parents what to do, but is it possible that your child knows inside what when it's presented with the stuff and it's turning its head away from those bitter spinach leaves that it doesn't want to eat them for a reason? Is it possible? You know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and I know that shakes a really big tree, and it's really hard for me not being a parent to see this, but I was a child living it. And I remember I couldn't tell you why I didn't want to eat the broccoli, but it was because I was getting forced to eat something that was bitter, foreign. And now that I understand these natural mechanisms, that was just nature talking. It wasn't a child being a picky kid, And then,
Exactly.
oh, look, he loves applesauce. Why? Well, I'll tell you what, interesting. And then, so I mean, it's really wild how you even said that. Like, it's just the natural stuff, and that's the stuff that really, like, it's really really basic, but we overcomplicate everything so much.
Oh, we
It's like,
do.
how is it possible you eat all the fat on your steak and that's not giving you a heart attack? It's like,
Me and my fat boy, I do love the fat. And when I was a kid, oh boy, give me the fat on all the meat. And that's what I wanted to eat. I loved it. And then we were taught that it's bad for you. You can't have it. And we started cutting the fat off of the meat. And I would just look at it and go, I want to eat that.
you know what?
Yeah,
That's pretty interesting because I think that might be the deciding factor of people choosing the carnivore diet. I just kind of thought about this right now because I love the fat too, and I was
yeah, but yeah, but I have a really, really good friend who cannot stand fat. She hates it. She can't stomach it. It just makes her sick. She can't even think about it. And of course, she's not carnivore,
yeah,
right? But it's a good point. So
and
uh,
I think there might be some internal mechanisms there when you're not used to obviously what drives your cravings and what drives your sort of your hunger signals, I should say. If it's sugar driven and carb driven and you don't like fat, I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff at play there too with the gut, like stomach acidity, digestion, and the gut being prepared to. Because like a lot of people, if they go to if they choose the carnivore way for obviously like yourself for a reason for something that they're trying, you just gravitate towards eventually. Like, look at how many people snack on butter now, and all the new carnivores that I take on or that I'm involved with usually start like, there's no way I'm eating butter. They say that. They're like, I can't do that much butter. And as these things start readjusting, they start snacking on butter. And it's like it's really interesting how you sort of evolve and the satiety signals and that stuff comes into play. And I think,
yeah, because like you said earlier, everything has to do with the gut. Okay,
yeah,
so what's going on in your gut microbiome? If you're vegetarian, vegan, you're gonna look at meat and be, ugh. When I was vegan, I couldn't even smell meat cooking. It made me sick.
yeah,
And I thought, oh God, how did I ever eat that? The worst stuff on the planet, right? When that's why I thought honestly in the first month of going carnivore that it was just going to kill me. I would, I was already 56, but I was already overweight. I had gained,
Mhm.
anyways. Uh, and I was surprised because I could eat the meat every day.
Mhm.
It really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But the first, I mean, it was heavy. It was
Yeah.
it was heavy.
Mhm.
And it was only for me, luckily, I think for the first week. And then I just got into it pretty easily. So I think my microbiome changed,
Of
and
course.
and my the carb eating microbes down there
Yeah. They
were
don't like to
screaming
die.
at me,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they were screaming literally. I'm the cravings that were happening were insane. That's because they were dying, and the other ones, the meat based, were coming back into play and flourishing and taking over. And when that happens, then you're going to take the butter and just start
Yeah.
biting chunks out of it, because yeah, because that's what I believe. Again, I can't say, but that has been my experience. And working with others, I see the same thing as you do.
Yeah.
That it just happens.
Yeah.
And I tell people that are starting who are like fat, freaked out on
Oh, yeah.
fat,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, just start. Don't eat like a big lump of tallow,
Yeah.
and start chewing on it. Don't do that. If you can put butter on it, do it. But just eat a ribeye.
Yeah.
Just just start there.
Yeah.
And because it's a great piece of fatty meat, right? And you're eating the fats anyways, and a week will pass, and you'll begin to tolerate butter. You'll begin to tolerate ghee, whatever it is that, the fats that you're eating. So I don't know. It's just a process,
Yeah.
and like breathing,
Yeah.
it happens naturally.
Yeah.
It'll just happen.
Exactly.
And again, it's this, we always have to know so much and
Yeah.
chisel it down and
Justify, justify, justify.
justify and overcomplicate, and you pull up this study and that research and to
And
prove it to yourself, when really, come on, we're just meant to be moving our bodies, eating when we're hungry, being out in the sun,
yeah.
and sleeping, and procreating, right?
Yeah.
Or and being in our communities. That's who we are. And there's really not a whole lot more to
No.
that. So if you just get back to that base, we can move forwards, and you move forwards into your own vitality. And who doesn't want to feel vitally healthy? Who doesn't want to feel that way? And people think it's just not, oh, well, it's just me. But it's not just me, because other people with herpes that are carnivore no longer get their outbreaks, and they're also vitally healthy.
Yeah.
So it's not just me.
No. No, it's not just you, Vida, but you are still a beacon of like the world should be listening to Vida. Like, like just
Thank you so
and you
much.
know what? And that's what I love about these conversations too, is like we're just normal people that figured this out for ourselves. And now we're sharing just sort of the coincidences. And I don't think it's a coincidence, but you know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah, I
the
don't
way
either.
we're coming at this from our own experiences and our own sort of awareness, it's led to the same way. And we were talking about butter, and we were talking about gravitating towards fat. I remember when I was first getting into keto and low carb, hearing Jeff Bullock and Steve Finney talk about their experiences with diabetes and stuff, and that was what really kind of got me into it. And I remember Steve Finney talking one time, and he's like, "One day you'll just open the fridge and the butter will start looking good." And I was like, "You gotta be crazy,
I
man!
love
Like, there's
that.
no way, dude! Like, get out of here!" Like, that it just did not compute, and it was like, okay, I'll try this thing. I understand the sugar, but like the day that'll be the day when I whip the fridge open and look at butter. Well, it happened, you know. Now every time I'm cooking or like I'm making my coffee, I like slice off like a tablespoon ish, and I'll have a little
Yeah.
bite. And then I'm cooking, my steak or whatever, and I put some butter on it. I have a little bite, and it's like some days I just look at it and go, that's good. And all these people making butter bites and brown butter, I love it. That's great, but eventually you'll realize that you don't need to cook anything. You just snack on it
You,
like a chocolate bar.
yeah, you don't need to, you don't need anything. You don't need anything, anything.
And
Oh,
that's it's funny how that whole thing, because like what like we're on TikTok, and you see the people. It's neat to see all the new carnivores trying things out and seeing how it goes. And I'm kind of just at the point where like I'm obviously I'm alone and single, so I don't need to worry about a family. It makes things, to be honest with you, it makes, in my eyes, it makes things a lot easier for I have simplified my meal preparations to it's basically just 10 minutes, steak and eggs, whatever, scrambled eggs, maybe a roast beef or something. But it's so easy for me because it's just, and like I used to do all the treats. I used to do that. I did the same thing. Oh, look, I can make keto donuts. Oh, look, I can make carnivore loaves. Now it's just food. And I mean, and I appreciate it when I go out for dinner. I can try things. I'm not worried about it in my context.
mhm.
I think there's a big curve there, and I think you felt it too, where now you're in a different mind space or mindset, and it's beautiful.
Tony, I fully connect with what you're saying. And in this carnivore space, especially on TikTok, and you get these stories, right, of people who are cooking all these, the carnivore bread, right? And they've got the
Yeah,
cookbooks out and they're doing this and that. And I'm thinking, why? Why? For me, it doesn't make any sense
mhm.
to make a carnivore bread. Why? It's something that just cannot. First of all, it'll never be bread, and I used to bake my own bread.
Yeah,
And secondly, for me, why try to uh, bastardize these genuine products that you've got that are 100% satiating, 100% healthy, which makes you feel phenomenal
yeah,
so that you can have something that's like, a carnivore bread. I just got stuck on the carnivore
yeah,
bread,
yeah,
but in all these little desserts and things and that, I don't need
yeah,
any sense of dessert.
yeah,
Give me, give me something that I can eat and nourish myself with. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to spend hours in the kitchen.
yeah,
What a waste of time, right? I can get a full meal in 10 minutes, sit down, I eat slowly, I
yeah,
enjoy it fully,
mhm,
and then I'm done. And then I get up and I keep going. I no longer have to go to bed to rest,
yeah, of
right? I don't have to. And it's the carnivore thing getting more popular. That's what it is.
course, yeah,
Like keto got popular, and so you can go out and buy all this packaged stuff.
yeah,
Nah, I don't know.
yeah.
It
Well,
seems, yeah.
Peter mentioned a good point. I think, or maybe it was Mark. I don't know, but we were talking about this, and it's and this is no offense to anybody that does that. And I believe, there could be a place and a bridge, and like, but when you're just starting, you're focusing on the stuff you're going to be missing out on. And that's kind of, in my mind, it's okay if you understand this. Like, you're replacing things that aren't really necessary. And if you're using that as a way to keep connected to the old stuff, the carnivore pancakes, the bread, the idea is to eventually get to the point of freedom. And I think that there's a lot of psychological stuff that goes on there, because once you hit it, and I like it's not a coincidence either that the sort of the once you get past that, I've tried carnivore, I've tried animal based, and I'm eating meat now. you get to your own iteration of the diet, all that stuff starts to go away. And I'm not talking about the families that have to sort of, I think that might be a great thing for kids. Like if you have little kids and you want to trick them, right? Instead of tricking them to eat broccoli, you're tricking them to eat carnivore bread and pancakes. I'd be all for that. But I
Okay, well,
think,
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I would
but,
agree with you there. Yeah.
but I mean, I think where the rubber hits the road and you're on your way is when you can realize what's happening. And I mean, man, it doesn't take a lot. And I mean, I make hollandaise once in a while. God forbid all those French sauces that were going to give us heart attacks. That they're all the healthiest things on the planet. You know, butter. Butter based. Like even real traditional mayonnaise. If you make it with butter, you know.
I make
Uh,
mayonnaise quite often. I actually I haven't made it with butter.
yeah,
We use olive oil, right?
uh,
Because we're in Greece, so olive oil is the basic thing, but it's just olive oil, mustard, lemon, salt,
yeah,
and eggs.
yeah,
And I'll eat some of that once in a while.
yeah. And I
Sure.
mean, obviously, if you do well with that stuff, like real mayonnaise, not the stuff that you buy in the stores. Obviously,
Yeah, no.
look at the
No,
oil that
no,
we
none of
use.
that.
But I mean, I've gotten so like with hollandaise, I'm now if I make a burger patty, I put a slab of butter on it on the hot side, two egg yolks, and I just break them, and it just goes, and it's like this is hollandaise, right? Butter and eggs. Yes.
Hollandaise.
Like
Yeah.
seriously, there's no mixing required. But what I try and do sometimes is because I used to love gravy. Like I loved gravy, but now I understand why. It's the fond. It's not the actual sauce. So I make like a
Right.
hollandaise, eggs, and butter, and I put beef drippings in it. It tastes
Perfect.
it tastes like gravy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it's
this is
perfect.
no flour, no, yeah, and it's it's my little and to be honest with you, that's if I have time and I'm sort of like leaning towards it's a nice roast, I'll do it. But it's not an everyday thing, and it doesn't really matter. Like I mean, I'd sooner eat raw egg yolks.
Can I ask you a question then?
Mhm.
Uh, so you have a new person, somebody who's just starting carnivore,
Yeah,
and they obviously were going through cravings and things like that, and they decide that they're going to try the carnivore bread, the carnivore pancakes, and this and that. How would you help them through that? Because it tends to be, in my experience, it tends to be that the people who are trying to replace real bread and real pancakes, real, whatever, with the carnivore version,
yeah,
never quite, or they lag in getting over in
yeah,
this mental area
yeah,
the idea of bread and
yeah.
pancakes.
Hmm.
And I think it's from and for me personally, one of my I really push just don't bother with that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't do it. Later on, if you want to try, go ahead when you're stable. But I'd like your
Um,
thoughts on that.
First of all, we usually get into why. Why are you what's going on here? Like, and most of the time when people come sort of to me, they're already at the point where they're okay, we know you, we trust, we've seen what you've done. So they're kind of receptive to it because you really have to decide, is your sugar addiction a problem? And this is the be all end all. If you don't understand the mechanisms of what's driving you towards this, how are you gonna and to be honest, sometimes you got to let the birds out of the nest and push them out and see if they fly, because watch what happens. Cut it all out, and where's your head at? What's going on? What's driving you towards this stuff, right? Like, sometimes you have to feel that sort of when people realize the drug side of sugar and they know that, okay, I'm addicted. It's a different awareness now. Now but a lot of if it's just like, oh, just replace it with stevia. Oh, just use this. I'll use the artificial sweeteners. Sometimes to get them to that, if they're having a real tough time understanding insulin, sugar, and they need something to kind of get them eating the right things, there may be a place, but it's very important to understand what's driving your cravings, what's driving your hunger. And yes, cut it all out and see what happens. Like, I tell people, first thing we're going to do is fast, stop eating for a day, and we'll see. And you call me when you're ready to eat, and I want to see how your body's most people right away, within 4 hours. Okay, I'm ready to eat. You're not ready. Just wait 2 more hours. 2 more hours. Okay, I'll fix my mind. I'm like, this is addiction. This is not hunger. And you know what I mean? So it's really, really
Yeah.
important to accept, because honestly, once you start to realize these unnatural mechanisms that are driving you towards that, you're gonna have to eventually come to grips with, you got to let it go, right? And that's like
Yep.
great at first. The only thing and it's, I guess sometimes it's as well as, what happens when you do have a little bit of sugar? Because like a lot of times now, especially thanks Paul Saladino, we get talked about, oh, honey's good, right? Honey's great. Like, oh, maple syrup's okay because it's natural sugar. And it's like, okay, why are we doing this? And what will that tablespoon of honey do? Will that satisfy a craving? Will that lead you to more cravings? Will that lead you to a whole mental breakdown where you go and lose your, right? It's where it goes, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think, like, to be honest with you, once people start to get really into their own physiology and understanding the what's actually the instinctive and the brain drive, it's a little easier to deal with. Like, it's okay, you're addicted. Like, unfortunately,
That's it.
you're a drug addict. Like, we need to treat this.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the people that get it start to understand that a lot better. And I mean, like my carnivore group, there are some of them that haven't had direct sort of help from me that are sort of experimenting. And it's really funny how a lot of the ones that have been just sort of getting into this sort of just because they're curious, or just, they're part of something, they're the ones that have the most setbacks. They have the, like, oh, I had a shitty time in my life and now I'm going back to, my old ways. It's
Yeah.
I've got to get through this, so I'm going to destroy my physical health to get through this stressful time, and then I'll get back on the bike. And then the people that have had like this real experience and like proper, that doesn't happen to them. They might have a little
Yeah.
slip up, but they're like, no, I'm getting right back. It's a different mindset for sure. So
Well, hey, yeah, I think because we are not solid, like, we're not a solid. We're all every part of us is always flowing in some way. I mean, we're so yeah. I mean, I'm 4 years carnivore. Sometimes I'll, like I had half a banana last night, or for whatever reason, I'll have my watermelon in the summer once in a while. Like it, and sometimes, like last night, I mean, I just slipped off because well, for whatever reasons, right?
yeah,
And it's not that you failed,
no,
you know, it's not that. The whole point of failing is a super helpful, positive, beautiful thing if we can just get that whole negative thing
yeah,
out of it. Like, like herpes, it's a
yeah,
negative thing. Get rid of it. But right, failure is your best teacher. So when
yes,
you slip off the wagon
yes,
and you're like, okay, all you need to do is take a moment and go
learn,
through
yeah,
what brought me to like picking up the banana,
hmm,
what was going on in my environment,
yeah,
how was I reacting to it, and that's why I ate it. And I ate it. And then this happened.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. There we go. Carnivore today, back on the wagon, everything's fine. And
yeah,
and then you move on. And you take those little bits of information that you gift to
mhm,
yourself, because it's a gift. Failing is a gift if you come about it in
absolutely,
that kind of way.
yeah.
And
That
some
is
people really don't get that,
that's beautiful, Vita,
but a
because
lot of people do.
That's exactly what I tell people, like it happens to you. Like, just always be learning. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
probably one of the greatest tools, gifts that this way of living has brought me. Like, even last night, like, this is my last day of this. And when I do this for 2 weeks a year, I make sure that I experiment a little bit, because I just want to know how my blood sugar is working, and I always want to just be testing. And but the idea is to not go off the rails, and not like, it's not giving myself the excuse to just, now, oh, you're gonna eat carbs for 2 weeks, you're gonna eat, but it's like, strategically, a couple times I test it. And last night was funny, because what we're talking about right now, this was my brain. I got home from the office, sat down, and I was like, I'm hungry. Let's eat some steak. So we had steak and eggs. And then I was like, I'm still hungry. Ooh, this would be a good time to let's try the pizza thing again. What are you talking about? Oh, well, we could just get a pizza right now. And just like, what the hell are you talking about? And I literally watched myself having this conversation. And I'm going, what is this? Why is this happening? What are you talking about? Like, this is ridiculous. Well, no. We're on an experiment. Why don't we just have it again, and we'll see what happens? And I'm like, shut up. Well, which one should we get? Domino's? We haven't had Domino's for a while. And I'm like, you have a steak in the fridge, just cook the steak. Well, maybe we should look at skip the dishes and see what's going on. Honestly, man. And then I ended up making another steak, which, because I won. And that was that whole thing. And then I started going, hey, where have you come from? Are you that guy? Are you rearing your ugly head from our past? What is it? And it was just this conversation, and it was about 2 hours of this conversation. And I'm like,
Wow.
holy shit, is it possible that this is still the evil addiction talking? Is it possible,
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, man. And it was interesting. And had I had somebody here saying, oh, I could do pizza, probably would have done it. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
was
yeah.
in
Yeah.
that space where it was almost like I needed to be alone to go through this thought process. And it's still happening 4 years later, where, holy shit, couple times, couple little bits of sugar, and now there's a whole other animal that's alive, like, talking to me. And
So yeah, yeah. So I mean, absolutely. I have found that every single time I up my carbs in some way, eating healthy
yeah,
vegetables or fruits or whatever, the cravings are immediately back.
yeah,
Like if I have like not even a quarter teaspoon of honey,
mm,
the next day I want a half a teaspoon
yeah, yeah,
of honey.
yeah,
And then and you just watch
yeah,
this thing growing inside of you. And it's fascinating
yeah.
when you can be the fly on the wall and just kind of watch yourself.
Mhm.
Look at that. Wow. Look how psyched up she is about honey. She wants honey on that yogurt. She
And,
wants to put it on the
and it's, like, last night, for instance, in my situation, last night was not worth it.
right.
I used my little my sort of routine, and my system. Like, every morning I wake up, I go through this thing: how are you feeling, how are you sleeping, what do we want? And that is just my way of really, really being honest with myself. But it's okay. Like, that conversation was, to me, that was mind-blowing. Like, this is it. I'm in action right now. I
You're
am
in action.
this is the full-on mechanism. Like, whatever you want to call it, the addiction, the devil, whatever. The angel and the devil were having a war on my
We're
shoulder.
having that, yeah,
and
on each
and I
shoulder.
was and it just, the more I do this, like, stuff, and it's like when people ask, like, well, what do I do at a family dinner? Well, what are you doing this for? I mean, go to your family dinner, but it's okay to eat and be selfish with your own body. At best, eat a big, like, I call it pre-gaming, eat a big meal that you would normally eat. And the worst case are you're going to try maybe some things, then you learn about it, figure it out. Like, you'll see the difference. But if you go there and just go, like, I often use this with Christmas and family dinners, you don't know what's going on. You're eating all this stuff. You don't know what's making what happen. The next day you feel like shit. Was it the yams? Was it the Brussels sprouts? Was it was it the mashed potatoes and gravy? We don't know what's going on. And that's kind of, I guess, like, I'm assuming like with yourself, you start to learn yourself all the time. And like you're saying, these these failures aren't losses. If you know how to like use them to your advantage, you just get
Yep.
really good at yourself. And I
Yes.
mean, I think that's huge. And it's interesting how the brain works and what are like our nourishing your body with the right things that make the neurotransmitters and all those things happen. That's your whole system. Like with you, your immune system showing you symptomatic, herpes outbreaks. And we've talked about anxiety and panic attacks and our ability to think straight. And that's really what it is. What sugar does, man, you're not thinking straight, let alone naturally. And I think when everything sort of gets brought back into balance, you become just a more resilient. And that's, a big takeaway, right?
Big, huge, 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 huge. And I was telling somebody, another herpes sufferer, right, that was um, asking me a question, and and I was thinking that this whole thing, right, about herpes, that it's our viewpoint of it is I have herpes, therefore I have this thing in me that controls me and I lose my own power. And that's definitely how I felt. There was nothing I could do. It just showed up whenever it felt like showing up.
Yeah.
If I was mentally trying to figure everything out. Was I stressed? People were telling, I'm going to go off topic. People were
Oh,
telling me that because of I live this very, very small, minimal life on this little tiny Greek island. My husband's a fisherman. I mean, it's very, very, right. And I don't have a movie theater and I don't have a shopping center and there's really nowhere to go out. Only in the summertime there's cafes and things like that to go. There's really nothing to do. and and they're like, well, you're just depressed. You're depressed. You're really stressed out. And I'm like, I live on this tiny Greek island. Nothing is going on in my life. Everything is pretty darn calm. Why
mhm.
would I be stressed about that? And I'm like, well, because you don't have the opportunity. And I'm like, but I don't know. Like I can live very well pretty much on my own. I don't need to have a lot of people around me all the I'm fine with myself. Like I don't know, and my family and the people that I do hook up with once in a while, but it's like you're trying to put stress on me that isn't there.
Yeah.
It isn't there. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that in. So like, you've got these herpes and your immune system is failing you. It's
Yes.
failing you. That's why you're getting
Yeah.
outbreaks.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a strong immune system, it doesn't allow that to
Yes.
happen. It won't allow it to happen.
Hmm.
That's why every time people get sick and their
Yeah.
immune system drops and just kind of gets off balance, then the outbreaks will
And
happen.
and that's
Well,
and that's
okay.
that's the thing with viruses too. What people don't realize is, yeah, you're contagious or whatever it is, way before the symptoms come. Like that's the whole
Yes.
the whole symptomatic outbreak, whatever you want to call it, like the exposure of the virus when you know you're sick or whatever it is. By that time, that's your immune system going hyperdrive. Like it is going wow, and that's this whether it's fever, whether it's blemishes, whatever it is. By that time, you have gone the wrong pathway. Like and a lot of times we hear like these things called cytokine storm, and yeah, it is because your your adaptive immune your innate immune system it's gone. Like it's it's way past go. It did not collect $200. You are now in full adapt mode, and if you don't have enough antigens and all the beta cells start to all these cells are working together going okay whoa red alert then we send all our it's just our bodies going yeah we're in trouble here like this is a
We're in
problem
trouble.
and
Yeah.
it's not a coincidence that it's all relatively the same like when we even dealt with the pandemic once you start realizing this reactionary, when your immune system's reacting to it, that's the difference between somebody that survives and somebody that is coasting through it. And so many people, and what the way you got brought into this was, luckily, herpes isn't fatal, as far as I know anyway. It's
No, it's
it's
not.
more
No.
of a it's more of a mental, physical kind of. It's unfortunate and probably not comfortable. Obviously, it's not good. But the difference between another virus being fatal and that virus just, maybe you get a little sick, or maybe you just coast through it. Vida, like, you can see, if you treat all viruses equally, as opposed to, whatever they are, your immune system is functioning, and it's amazing to see that it's giving your body the chance to not go batshit crazy and haywire. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
with COVID, what were the coincidences? Comorbidities, immune compromised, elderly, and this was what I was thinking. Like, people say, well, healthy people got sick, and they died too. Hold on a second. Now we both know metabolic healthy, immune system healthy is nothing. Like, we don't know what was their insulin like, what was their immune system like, what was their nutrition like. They just ran a marathon, they're healthy, and then they get infected by a virus at an immune compromised state. Well, that would be, it's
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it is fascinating, and hopefully we will learn so much more exactly about how all of this is working. Because just because you look healthy and
yeah.
you're not overweight and you've got energy and you're doing all sorts of things does not in fact mean that you are um, vibrantly healthy. Let's put
Yeah,
that on.
yeah, yeah.
It does not equate one with the other. And you may be in that transitory stage, as most people are, as I was, from childhood to when you get to, your 50s, and then everything starts falling apart and you think it's just normal. But in that transitory stage, my insulin is spiked up. I'm all over the place. I mean, I looked healthy. I acted healthy. I never thought that there was anything wrong with me. But in fact, but in fact, I was not healthy. And it just starts pouring out of you
Mhm.
the older you get. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, and health is not something that's
Yeah, yeah.
it's so much more. It's so
And,
much more than what we can comprehend.
and it's funny how the metal, like, I mean, obviously, in your situation, you've got to somewhat rely on yourself to come up with, like, I mean, you don't have a doctor's office or a hospital right there. So
Nothing.
obviously, this would make, I would hope, people would be aware of, like, taking control. You probably don't want to be sick, you know what I mean? Like, you're taking responsibility for your health in some way, even if it's a process. For sure, you have to. But that's a lot of things too. That it's interesting how I think our medical system divides us. Like, it's, you have this, we have to treat this. You
Yeah.
have that, you have to treat that. These are different. By the time, if God forbid you have, some kind of heart condition, you have some kind of hormonal problem, you have some kind of other, gastrointestinal problem. So now you have an oncologist, a gastroenterologist, and endocrinologist talking about things, and a GP. Nobody's offered any nutritional advice. They're all telling you to do different things for different diseases. When that's
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I can only imagine that's horrific, but taking care of everything would be the answer.
And yeah, and I mean, this may be kind of out there for some people, but if you think about it, I also believe that our health is probably as simple as our food. and it's probably as simple as breathing and walking
Yeah,
and sleeping, that it really doesn't need to be that difficult. And of course, that's not, I'm not pushing any of the medical people off to the side, but and they're needed. They're
of
needed
course.
when, when things aren't going well.
Yeah,
But I really believe that the way I am today, knock on wood, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
yeah,
But the way I am today with the health that I have, this vibrant health that I have, if anything comes up, I'm much more likely to get through it uh, on a higher level than getting totally plummeted and thrown down and stepped on by whatever it is that I might be going through. In these past 4 years, my kids have been here. They've gotten sick. The entire house has been sick with all sorts of very, very contagious things, and I'm there caring for everybody
yeah.
because I don't get sick, and I have never gotten sick in these last 4 years. And before that, I was always getting sick. And you think, well, whatever, you've been through it. I've got the antibodies. Well, no, no, I don't think so.
No, that's in the situation. If it quacks like a duck, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And a lot of people don't recognize the quacking, right? Like that's the problem, right? Like it's, no.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny how if you said that and you're talking to somebody and you mention that, they're already trying to make excuses to why it's happening instead of saying, "Well,
Yeah.
I do what do we do differently? I nourish my body with whole, natural, arguably proper human food. You do not, and you're trying to justify why I am not feeling the effects of things that you do. And it's unreal
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That
It's
old,
unreal. Yeah.
and it's like right
It's
standing, staring right in their faces. And I mean, I get this all the time, especially at work, like the people that I work with in my office. It's like they just hold on to this stuff. Like you can't just not eat. They've never seen me put in a year and a half working at the office. They've never seen me put one thing of food in my mouth except for maybe a coffee. Not one time in a year and a half. No lunches, no breakfast, no snacking, and
yeah.
they're looking at me like that can't be healthy. And I say, look at you, look at me. I am, arguably like I'm not going to say they're obese or anything, but I'm just like I'm pointing out some stuff here, like we're all, within 20 years age of each other, and it's just like, but you don't ever see me complain. I'm never sick. I've never, it's this is, and it's just like wow. Well, they're all justifying. You can't just eat meat. You can't just eat. How many eggs a day do you eat? I don't know, a dozen. You can't do that's and already
It'll kill you.
they're justifying why I am such a freak, as opposed to just maybe
Yeah.
there's something to this, right?
And
Nope.
you are a healthy freak. You are
Yeah,
a vibrantly healthy
yeah,
freak. Let them all be normal. I
yeah,
choose to be a freak.
yeah.
I much rather choose to be the
And
freak.
and it's funny because like you get some people like the light bulbs start going off, and they're like, if I just eat meat, would that
Hmm.
happen to me too? Like my roommate, he's from Brazil, and when he moved in with me, he was like looking at me, going, "What are you eating?" And I'm like, "Steak." He's like, "But where's everything else?" And it's like, "Don't eat it." He's like, "What?"
I need-
And he was like at the time he was probably about he was pretty overweight and like rotund, we'll call it.
Yeah,
And
rotund.
he just like after about a week, he's like, "Okay, so what? How much did you? What's happening here?" And he just was curious, watching me. He he became a carnivore from that. I never once said do this. I never once said do that. He was like, "So
Yeah.
if I just eat meat, would I lose weight?" I was like, "I don't know. Try it out." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Do you enjoy meat?" He's like, "Yeah." But no, no, you don't need any. I was like, well, just see how you feel. He hasn't. Now he kind of flip flops back and forth. Like he still lives a little bit. Sometimes he's lost 50 pounds, and it's fully just observe. And he was watching me, and every day he's like, "How many times do you eat today?" None. I might fast. What? How? How can you do that? And it was just organically started gravitating. And now he's like got his own carnivore group in Brazil. He's like got a bunch of like probably about 100 people on his little thing, and he's like, this is insane. Like he can go, he works in camps like up in the wilderness and stuff, and does the thing, and he goes away for times, comes back, and he knows
Uh-huh.
how to get back to what makes him feel good, and it's unreal. And it was like, and this is like it sort of restored the faith because so many people are that they're really against it. They fight so hard to refuse that it would be good for them. Do you find that too? Like, well, I
Yeah.
could never do that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I have people tell me that too. And to them I just say, well, you don't have to go carnivore. Why not just try, you know,
Yeah.
you know, just get rid of the prepackaged stuff and
Yes.
just kind of go for like the whole foods kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do that for a while. And
Yeah.
then, the more it's kind of like a little doorway in. And you
Yeah.
get the people who want to do that because there are people want to feel good. Everybody wants to feel good,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
yeah.
okay, just start there.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of times, like even organically, you just start to, as the awareness builds, as you start to feel the difference, you start to get like open up to the possibilities. Because like I don't know, well, it sounds like your story kind of led you to carnivore because you were proactively looking for an answer or searching for a possibility. And I mean, I was the same way with low carb, and I was on that road to going vegan because I was still even a year and a half, I think, low carb keto, dirty, like horribly, and then sort of went, okay, well, it would be really healthy to go vegan, and that was like the first conversation I had with myself. Excuse me. Stop. Think about this. Throw it all on the table. And carnivore was sort of in my awareness, but I was still on the fact like there's not a chance. I'm not. There's no way I'm doing this. And when you put
Yeah.
it all on the table and actually look at it, it's like, wow, tried it and I haven't looked back. And it's just been, to be honest with you, I tried it like yourself for 30 days to see what happens. And I mean, we're talking within a week, I was like, what the
Wow.
hell? And oh my God. And then after that month, like I was at the time, I was still in school studying to be a nutritionist. And then I was working these physical jobs with these guys. And I was like, they're like, what's going on with you? How are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just eating meat and this is crazy. And they're like, come on. And even them, they're like, I couldn't do that. You're going to die. And I'm just like
You're gonna
running circles
die.
around, just like, oh shit. And to be honest with you, that's never stopped. It's just been a constant
See?
sort of, and now this year I've been in an office pretty much my whole time, like office and at home on a computer, and it's been physically, mentally. I think maybe the light has had something to do with it. I'm not out in the sun as much, which I feel the yearning, but other than that, like physically and mentally, it's unreal. It's just crazy, and it's pretty amazing. And stories like yourself just really it fascinates me that
Yeah.
we can be
Yeah.
like doing these things, and oh, it's pretty cool. One thing before we probably should we're gonna have to break this up into a few parts. I love it. Like this has
We're
been
gonna have to do another one, Tony. We're gonna
yes
have
for
to.
sure. Is the arginine thing that
Okay.
we talked about, and when you said like most times with when you're dealing with herpes, they say stay away from arginine foods.
Mhm.
Oh, wouldn't meat have a lot of arginine?
It does have arginine. It does. And somebody just recently came and said, but meat has arginine. You're not supposed to eat arginine. And I think I did maybe it was a live when I was answering that question. And here's the thing. Of course, meat has arginine, because arginine is one of those vital things that we need. It's an amino acid. We need to have it. So it's not that arginine is bad for us. It's not. It promotes our health. People with herpes that are eating a conventional diet or a high carb diet, and high carb to me is even 20 grams of carbs and up, you're in the high carb area. And that's when things get out of balance. So and you get in danger because your immune system is flipping out, your metabolism is getting all messed up, and so that gives the opportunity for these viruses to come out to express themselves. They're like, we got some carbs, we got some sugar, let's go party, right? So when you get rid of all of that, and that's why people who are suffering from herpes and they want to start on the carnivore diet, it's like you got to get rid of dairy as well. But that does not mean butter. Butter is the fat from the dairy. So you're
Yeah.
okay with that. But milk, yogurts, and all of that, just cheese, just, leave it out for a while. Even though uh, dairy has high lysine, which lysine and arginine are the two that arginine and herpes are best buds, and lysine will, if there's a lot of lysine in the body, then it'll keep the herpes
That,
suppressed.
that's so
Okay.
interesting that you say that because, like, I think we talked about this a little bit the last time we spoke on the podcast. Um, that lysine is what's known as a rate limiting amino acid. So
Okay.
for all the amino acids to work together and combine, essential ones which we need to eat and the non-essential ones which we can make, it's almost like a combination lock from what I gathered. So when lysine is too low, all the other ones are hanging around waiting for lysine to show up before they do their thing. So when we're looking at what we're built with, enzymes, peptides, hormones, tissue, that lysine, and there's a couple other ones. I think methionine's one, but they're called rate limiting amino acids. So it's interesting that you say this because when the lysine is abundant, lets all the other amino acids do the job. So that might mean that the arginine is hanging around waiting for lysine to catch up. When it's there, they do their thing. You know what I mean? And it's really fascinating because once we start looking at amino acids individually, what they do, there's certain ones that have to be in certain amounts before certain things happen. Lysine is a big one, methionine, and leucine is another one for
Wow. Okay.
muscle protein synthesis. So there's like where this started happening for me and the light bulbs were going off, and we talked a little bit about this, is the food matrix. And isn't it funny that complete protein has these amino acid effects that are undeniable? When we're eating incomplete protein, what is the one, I think a big thing in the amino acid world that grains don't give you is lysine. So,
Mhm.
it's interesting when that arginine is present, but the lysine's not there. What do you think happens? You know what I mean? It's really quite, and that's kind of where we could probably do a whole talk on this stuff, but that's probably where people get confused when they're talking about these things like they're individuals, and we don't look at them from the picture.
Holistic.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like honestly, when the thing that kind of was a mind blower for me was complete protein is so much more than just complete protein. It's the actual amino acids in the right amounts to make the other amino acids, and you produce the amino acids to do the things. So when you're eating incomplete protein, there's holes and I have to wait. And it's really quite fascinating. And
Wow, that is fascinating.
yeah,
I don't know about that, and now I'm not all spurred on uh, to learn more of
yeah,
what you just said because it makes total sense
yeah,
to my mind, and it makes total sense as to why when you get rid of all the extra stuff and you're
yeah,
just carnivore,
yeah.
that yeah, of course there's arginine there,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, and there's lysine, and they can be pretty balanced depending
Yeah,
on on the cuts of
Yeah,
meat that you're eating.
yeah,
Uh, but why doesn't why won't you get an outbreak? And it's
yeah.
because of this connection and balance and just I had never thought of, well, because I don't know, so
Mhm.
you're teaching me that right now from my perspective, a layman's
Yeah,
terms, right? It's that there's my metabolism is powerful, which means my immune system is powerful. And
yeah,
because my immune system is powerful, my immune system has got my back. It's
yes.
taking care of me.
But
I'm gonna, there's no, right? There's no need for the
yeah,
herpes virus to come out. They can just stay there and sleep until I die.
and not and not to
Right.
men not to mention some of these amino acids that are in the right amounts also are how your cytokines and your signaling hormones get made. They're made from protein. Our
Oh,
enzymes
wow.
are
Yeah.
like these are all part of it. Like what we are is protein and actual things that are like, and there's so many different ones, like carnitine for fat transportation, and like creatine for actual energy, and how whenever we have, like, I'm starting to realize whenever we're not we don't we have holes, things have to wait around or won't work, and they all work in synergy. So a lot of times, a deficiency is lack of other things cooperating, and we've talked about maybe a little bit about this, but it's the food matrix. And go figure, that
Go
might be
figure.
the magic, the secret sauce with the carnivore diet, is you're getting everything in the food matrix in the right amounts that work together. And it's quite fascinating because they don't they don't look at these things. It's always individualized. It's like we're looking at cell
Yeah.
biology. We're not looking at the immune system runoff. We're looking at function or not. But why?
Yep.
How does this get there? And and I'm always fascinated when there's these things that happen that people don't really know. It's just a carnivore, and I love to know why. And it's like
Yeah, me too.
things start to go like wow. And I mean, you look at your vitamins and minerals when you're getting the proper B vitamin absorption and support, working with all the protein, the right amount of iron, your hemoglobin in your blood with and it's all there. But we all mix it up and we think, we got to eat dark leafy greens for folate. And it's now they're starting to realize too, folate in a synthetic form might not be good for you. Like it doesn't work in and it's like this is like people go, well, no, it's we've been doing this. But how do you know that multivitamin that you're taking is working?
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what Vida knows though, is when she eats this way, it works, you
It
know?
works.
So
Yep.
we're always looking at these little things, but we're not looking at the once again the whole thing. And I think that's where it's interesting to understand these. Like it's not rocket science, but it's fascinating when you actually dig into these mechanisms why. And if you look at
Yeah.
your immune system, your nervous system, your brain function, and the ability for your body to become balanced and in harmony. And it's not about the rainbow, obviously, it's not about eating a balanced diet. It's about how well your body's assimilating and cooperating with the nutrients that you're providing.
That's it.
And it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. And hey, you will know because you're going to wake up one morning and be, wow, I feel
Yeah,
really good. And
yeah,
then you're going to wake up the next morning, oh, I feel great.
yeah,
And the next and the next and the next. And there's no fluctuations in that.
yeah,
Even on my bad days, like when I'm not having a good day, there's like a lot of stress, a lot of things happening. Uh, I I am steady.
yes,
And I say that because I had to come to 56 years old to begin to see that this is an option for me
yes,
on a daily basis.
yeah,
Here it is.
mhm,
I can be criticized where I used to get hypersensitive. I mean, I would like go on these spiral downward spins, emotional, whatever, right? And I don't even know what that's like anymore. I've forgotten
Yeah,
because every day is good. And, again, you tell people this and they're like, oh, well, she's,
you're lucky.
yeah, or I'm delusional.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
people have said
exactly.
that.
You're either lucky or genetic freak or you're delusional, right? You got
It's like one of those.
the excuse meter.
And
If
it's
it's an
like,
extreme thing,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I may be, you may be right, but you won't know for sure if you don't try it yourself. So if you want to give it a go,
yeah.
go for it and see how it makes you feel. That's
And
it. And
and
then you can be delusional along with me.
yeah, exactly. Come be delusional, people. That's the thing. Um, you made a good point there too, as well as like, okay, Vida, we always need proof. We always need this, like, okay, we need some research or some kind of thing that tells us it is or isn't good. Vida, prove, study, and tell me, prove that you love your husband. Prove that you love your mother. Prove it. How? How do you prove that? Right? Let's
It's a great
how
question.
prove that you feel great every day.
Yeah, prove it.
And
Yeah. Although, yeah.
and then you have these doctors and these critics that are saying carnivore is not sustainable. It may be a good idea at the beginning to get your like, hold on a second here. What do you mean a good idea at the beginning, but later on it's not? Okay, sure. Research hasn't shown that it's working. Really? Really? Vida got her life back. Her her nest, her groove is on, and some doctor is going to tell her that it's not working.
Yeah. 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 No, I don't think so. I really don't think so.
And I mean, luckily we have some really good ambassadors for this on the medical side, and most of them learned about this on their own. So that is
Yes, that's true.
so that's been a good, like, it gives me a little bit of confidence that really smart people that have the same education have veered off on their own, and they're
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
I think that's a really important message: is feeling good every day, feeling great every day is
Yep.
is the best motivator. And it's, at the end of the day, that's what should be driving us, because I feel pretty good every day. I feel great every day. I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited to be alive,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yes. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and we are like, we're gonna have to chop this up. I love it because I've enjoyed our conversation so much. It's been like nice to get to know you, and sort of I feel like a very kindred spirit. It's very cool.
Yeah. 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 I think
Um,
so. I feel the same way.
and I enjoy all your videos, because like it's always one thing I can see and I can feel is the genuine, like, it's so amazing that you're out there telling people your experiences, and you're honest. I love it when you're telling people about your little experiments with stuff and rice, and I love it that we ask these questions and we're not afraid to um to talk about them. And I appreciate your
Yeah.
courage and your making this, I don't want to say, yeah, well, making this normal, making it okay to talk about your herpes. and
Making it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yep. Yep. Making it normal.
and I know there's a lot of people, because this is kind of one of those dark clouds that hangs over a lot of people's heads. It's okay to talk
Sadly.
about this, and it's okay to address this. And I would, how do people get a hold of you, Vida, and let alone follow you? And I would encourage everybody, just carnivores, support Vida for sure, because
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, the easiest way to find me is just at Vida Goes Carnivore here on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And if anybody is suffering from herpes and wants to talk to me, um, feel free to leave me a comment anywhere, message me anywhere on the social media platforms, and you can email me as well uh, at VM Evenson. I suppose we should probably write this out somewhere, but it's just VM Evenson, yeah,
okay.
at iCloud.com. You can send me an email anytime. I will answer and help anybody who messages me with whatever it is that they want at no cost. You can message me and talk to me. I'm there for you. And for those who are interested in getting started and want, a coach through the first 6 weeks, if you can get to 6 weeks, which almost everybody does, right? You're going to be flying afterwards. And I also do offer a 6 week program.
Awesome.
So it's just it's such an easy thing to do. It feels hard up here, but when you're giving your body the basic nutrients that it needs, everything else just falls away, and you will step out of whatever is befuddling you and whatever is troubling you, your emotional up and downs, your mental, brain fog, whatever confusions, even like in like ADHD type, which put me in there, right?
Mhm.
Has completely just calmed down and balanced out in such a big way, right? Not 100% gone, but right, completely just everything just comes back to your center, which connects you with the beautiful channel that is within us all, that connects us to out there, right? And brings us down and grounds us into this beautiful earth that we are all walking on. And if I can help anybody get to that, get back to their authentic selves, you already have it. It's already there. It's just waiting for the right input, and that input will come from you. That input will come from the foods that you're eating, and you will see it's the foods first. It's the nourishment. It's the first thing, because after you start nourishing yourself, everything else just kind of falls into place almost on its own. It really does. And I think, Tony, you probably understand that as well. You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
that's like our I quite often have these like little sayings, and like one is take the power back. It's there. It's ready for you to just, you know, it's waiting to be unleashed.
It's waiting. It's already there. Yep.
And
Yep.
I love our conversation. I had a great time, Rita. I will
Me
post.
too.
I will post. I'll post like I'll make sure like on our channels like I'll get all the stuff for people to get a hold of you in the description.
Okay.
We'll break like we'll probably break this up into a couple parts, and then we'll. I'd love to keep in touch. Obviously, I'd love to keep in touch and have these conversations. And anytime you ever want to talk about this stuff, I'm all for it because I love it.
Yeah. Next
Yeah,
time I'll have you on. I'm going to start a
awesome,
podcast as well. So,
awesome. Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
yeah. So just hang out for a second. We'll say goodbye to Vida, and I'll be back probably in a second. Just one second.